Today, I want to tell you about one of my favourite solo TTRPGs, not just because it serves its purpose well and it's a fun game, but because whatever game you're playing, you can get something either fun or incredibly useful out of reading this book. I've played a number of solo TTRPGs ranging from Colossal, Notorious and even Groton, but today, we're covering 1000-Year-Old Vampire. This game is what's called a journaling RPG, which might sound strange, like, what, I'm a journalist now? But basically what it means is it cuts out all the gamified stuff and instead is more key towards you telling a story and journaling or documenting what happens to your character along the way. For example, something like Groton is key towards OSR style Morkborg dungeon crawl stuff, so it's got stats and character creation, attack rolls, damage, blah blah blah. Then you have a game like Colossal, which has a deck of cards and tables that tell you what result you get, but it also has stuff like your stats on a character sheet with character classes. But this kind of game is even simpler. You make a very simple character, you make a roll to get a prompt, and then you make the story from that prompt. And because of that incredible simplicity, there is not a single hurdle that stops you from playing this game yourself. You don't need friends to play it, and it's beyond easy to play. But if you're still on the fence because you wouldn't know what to do with this game, where's the attack rolls, where's the damage rolls? Well, if you do only play those sorts of games, I'm going to let you know an incredibly useful way that you can use this book once I go through more of the game, because it won't make sense otherwise. Well, as a start, character creation is super simple. There's no stats or HP or spells. You just pick a few details about your character. The first thing, but in my opinion the second best thing, is choosing where or when in history you start your journey. If you're a fan of history, you will love this game. Are you alive during 1066? Maybe the Renaissance era? Maybe the times of the ancient Egyptians? That kind of thing. Once you have chosen your historical origin, you then choose some significant characters and significant items that you carry with you. And of course, how you gained your vampiric curse. And also, when I say vampiric curse, I don't mean literally you have fangs, you are a vampire, you look like Bela Lugosi. Instead, you are basically an immortal creature that feeds off the living in some way. You could be a classical vampire, you could eat flesh wholesale like a cannibal, you could drink the spinal fluid, the eyeball juice, the dreams from people, it's up to you. The immortal being that give you this curse or gift, depending on how you see it, they could be someone like a classical vampire, they could be some sort of strange spirit out of time, they could be just a being of scourge like the Grim Reaper that inflicts you with some horrible disease that you then inflict upon others to drain their life from them. Immense and infinite potential for storytelling. There's more details, there's more specifics, but I want you to go get this book, so I'm not going to give you everything. But once you've got your character, you're then going to pick up a D10 and a D6. And from that point, that's basically the game. Roll the dice, you get a prompt, you then say what your character does in relation to this prompt, because they're generic enough to allow you to build your own story based on whatever character you choose, and you keep going until you can no longer go on and the game is over. To give you an example of play, I'll make like a rough character and then actually roll twice and see what prompts we can come up with. Just as a rough concept, I like the idea that vampires have like a animalistic tendency to them, like they are like savage beasts that go for blood. So what if it was like a different creature, like instead of like a dog or a lion, it was like a bird or something? Like shrike birds, for example, are incredibly weird, how they get their prey and impale them. And oh wait a minute, that's just Vlad the Impaler, isn't it? Never mind. Alright, scratch that. I'm just going to type animal into Google Images, and I'm going to scroll down and stop, and a rat. Alright, let's go with that. My name is George. I was alive during the Black Death, and during the Black Death, a immortal being of plague and pestilence, perhaps a rat king of some sort, bit me during the night, and I started to grow rat-like fangs, and I started to obsess over disease and pestilence, and of course, the sewers and cheese. Let's say I've made even more details about my character as the book instructs. I then grab the dice. We're going to roll for our first prompt. That is a 5 on the D10 and a 3 on the D6. Now, how it works is, you take the D10, whatever result that's there, you remove the result off the D6 from the D10. So 5 minus 3 is 2. So I move forward from 1 to 3. And let's bypass what number 1 is, because I think number 1 is one of the more interesting and fun ones that you'll just have to buy the book to see what it is. So 3. A loved one discovers your condition and works to help you. create a resource which represents their assistance, create a mortal character if none are available. And this is how the prompts work. Regardless of what character you made, you can make a story out of these prompts. A loved one discovers my condition and works to help me, so they've discovered that I am a pestilence lord creature that's slowly devolving into a rat man, so how do they try to help me? Perhaps they try to give me offerings of people, perhaps the sick that are on their way out. I am the one that sends them off into their death. Perhaps maybe I am given just food and scraps in the waste. Perhaps I'm like a cleaner more than a being of pestilence, and it's kind of a good thing perhaps, but I am just a monster in the sewers that's horrible. Meanwhile, my loved one is skulking around collecting dead bodies to bring to me. And you might notice it says create a resource which represents their assistance or a mortal character if none are available, and from that you can decide, what does that mean? I gain a resource, and it can be most nearly anything. A resource could be perhaps from this feeding, I've developed, quite a lot of money. Maybe I've developed personal assets, maybe even a bundle of keys, because these bodies that have been dragged towards me, I've ate the bodies, but then, I have all this loot from the corpses. It could be something like that. Or create a mortal character if none are available. Maybe one of the bodies that's brought towards me is alive, and now this mortal character maybe worships me in reverence. You never know. These are all things that you can just make up weird ideas from just simple prompts like these. I said I was going to make 2 rolls, so let's go with it. We have a 7 on the d10 and a 4 on the d6, so that is 7 minus 4 to 3, so we go from 3 to 6, which says, a mortal character begins serving you. Who are they? Why are they drawn to you? Create a new mortal character. So, I create a new mortal character, as it says. I can create maybe another person who worships me in reverence. Maybe they're of a higher position, and it says, who are they and why are they drawn to you? Maybe there's just something about, during the Black Death, this being of pestilence, this gnarled, horrible creature, this lank-haired being that is part man and part rat, that never shows himself to the light of day because he doesn't know whether he'll crumble underneath the light of the lordly sun, or he just doesn't want to show his horrible visage because he's a horrible, feeding vampiric creature. All these things I can go with, and why they're drawn to you, they see this creature that inspires so much awe, awesome and awful, and they think, if I don't bow beneath this thing, then I'm going to succumb to the Black Plague, and of course, if they worship me, I will spare them. So yeah, you would keep rolling, keep going through these prompts, getting all the way past 10 to 12 to 20, and then you get all the way towards the 72 to 80 region, and when you reach that region, that's when you meet some kind of end. Some of them are good, some of them that you are cleansed, some of them you just die in a horrible way, people find you and put you to rest. There's all sorts of ways to end it, but it's just a really cool way to develop a story, make these roles, and they're quite organic, they're quite generic, so you can cover whatever base you want to with whatever character you can create. It's just a lot of storytelling potential, and that's why I think, regardless of whether you're using this for an actual game night, or for another reason that I'm going to go through now, this game would be incredibly useful for you to pick up. If you play those sorts of games, attack rolls and, like Dragonbane, Pathfinder, games that are campaigns, stories, characters, the GM working together to create a story, it's really useful because those games also usually include some kind of villain. Have you ran multiple campaigns? Have your players played in multiple campaigns? Have they seen lots of fantasy media, sci-fi media, different films in general? Are they quite keyed into all the different tropes? And everything you throw at them, it's just another character that they've already heard of before. Well, if you're struggling for creative ideas and prompts, this is the perfect game to reap from. All the writing blocks that you might have when you're making a campaign and a villain to go with it, you can find your answers within this game. All the prompts are ways that you can enhance just a simple character into a real, interesting and deep villain. This game specifies a character that consumes the living in some way, causes harm to the living in order to survive. Very much like a vampire, the concept of vampires in general, but you could take it in another direction. Maybe you're not a vampire, maybe you are a demon of some kind. Instead of consuming the blood or the physical bodies of people, you drain their souls from them when they die, which would be kind of like a conquest sort of character, be quite simple, I kill and gain souls, but it could be something like My character can only gain their souls if they die in freak accidents. So much potential from just a couple of prompts. Vampires, powerful wizards, lords of monsters, demons, and of course things like liches. You can find their character origins from just a few prompts in this. And of course, instead of the whole, oh, I base it in like normal time history to make your character, instead of choosing Egypt or 1066, you could choose for your character to be in your own campaign's lore and then build from that with your own knowledge of how your world works through these prompts. This game is fantastic. Every time I think of, oh, I'd like to make a solo RPG, my mind just goes back to basically this game again, creating another version of this game because it's so simple, there's no stats, it's perfect to just give someone and they can make a whole story with just a few prompts. It's fantastic. It's great for a solo RPG. I've run it for people to make their own characters, and I've also sat and made my own characters myself with enough time instead of just sitting there on the spot with a camera trying to come up with ideas on the spot. But, as I said, you could use it for that purpose, a solo RPG, to make an amazing story, or you can use it as a fruitful well of inspiration for your own games that aren't solo RPGs. If you love history, if you love vampires, if you love TTRPGs and weaving your own stories, if you like a book that is filled with very vintage and very cool art to bring the whole image of a 1,000-year-old vampire coming together in a nice tight package, you will love this game. Pick up a copy. It's fantastic. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video then please leave a like, a comment, a subscribe, and of course, click the video on screen. I intend to go through more games that you might not have heard of, but you definitely need to play in future videos. But until then, I love you all, and I'll see you next time.